Wherever you see the hash symbol in a C++ program, you should know that it is a signal to a program known as the preprocessor. It is essential to know that each and every time when we start or run the compiler, the preprocessor is the one which runs first. The preprocessor runs before your compiler each and every time the compiler is invoked. What the preprocessor does is that it looks for preprocessor instructions, each of which begins with a hash symbol. It reads through your source code, and it will be looking for lines that begin with this hash symbol, and it executes those lines before the compiler runs. The hash sign indicates or signals that the following line is a preprocessor directive, and therefore it should be processed before actual compilation. The hash symbol, or preprocessor directive, gives instruction to the compiler's preprocessor to process your source code before actual compilation starts. In short, if you see any lines beginning with a hash sign, they are directives or indications for the compiler's preprocessor. Hash include is a preprocessor directive that tells the preprocessor to include header file iostream in our C++ program. You should know that the angular brackets indicate the start and end of the file name to be included, which is iostream. The use of hash include iostream in the C++ program is like talking to the preprocessor to include or put all the contents of the header file iostream at the beginning of our program. And including the iostream file enables us to use the syn and cut objects in our program, and without including that file, we won't be able to write a program that can print to the screen or accept input from the keyboard. iostream is a header file, and you should write it at the top of your C++ program, and it comprises of predefined input-output operations, syn and cut, that are very useful in a C++ program. The use of the object count is to print display a message to the screen. The use of the object syn is to accept input from the keyboard. In the basic structure of our C++ program, the directive hash include iostream tells the preprocessor to include the iostream standard file in our program. Hash include is a preprocessor directive, and its main function purpose is instructing the preprocessor to include specific header files in your C++ program before the actual compilation begins. Actual compilation is done by the compiler. In our C++ program, iostream is the name of the header file being included. iostream stands for the standard input-output stream. So what happens is that when you include iostream, you begin to have access to the entire hierarchy of classes that are responsible for providing the input-output functionality, and the most commonly used ones are syn, which is for reading input egg from the keyboard, and count, which is for writing/displaying output to the screen. Preprocessor directives are not C++ statements, so they do not end in semicolon. All the elements of the standard C++ library are declared within what is called a namespace with the name std. The main reason or purpose of using namespace as std is to avoid name collisions. The main reason namespaces were introduced was to resolve identifier name conflicts in the C++ programming language. A namespace assists to differentiate identifiers from the other similar identifiers in order to avoid name collisions. std is a namespace name which tells the compiler to look into that particular region for all the variables, functions, and the like. Using namespace std is like stating that our C++ program would like to use entities who are part of the namespace called std. The line using namespace std is very frequent in most of C++ programs that use the standard library. In order to use any identifier belonging to the standard library, you are supposed to specify that it belongs to the std namespace. All the standard library identifiers provided by the standard header files like iostream are declared in the std namespace. A very good examples are the SYN and COUT identifiers, which are defined inside the standard header file IOStream of the namespace called std. Using namespace fstd is a requirement and a must when using IOStream standard file. std is the namespace where C++ standard libraries are defined. In C++, namespaces is a way or method to assist in preventing naming conflicts. It permits you to prevent or avoid name collisions, especially in scenarios or cases where multiple identifiers or libraries share similar names or have same name. Namespaces help differentiate them, and in programming, a namespace ensures that all objects have unique names, the main reason being for easy identification. Int main is the main function, and this is where all C++ programs begin their execution. Main is followed in the code by a pair of parentheses because it is a function declaration. The execution of the basic structure of a C++ program starts with the main function. The braces enclose the body of a program, and the body is made up of a block, which is a group of statements, and what is normally contained within these braces is what the function does when it is executed. Int main is the main function of our program, and the execution of the program begins with this function. It refers to the return type, which indicates to the compiler that this function will return an integer value, and that is the main reason we have a return 0 statement at the end of main function. Main C++ programs consist of one or more functions. There must be one and only one function called main. The brackets following the word main indicate that it is a function and not a variable. The curly braces surround the body of the function, and they contain one or more instructions/statements that are going to be executed by the compiler. All functions begin with an opening brace and end with a closing brace. Everything between the opening and closing braces is considered a part of the function and is executed by the compiler. Here's how CUT is used. Type the word COUT, followed by the output redirection operator. You should note that the output redirection operator is two greater than signs with no spaces between them. Whatever follows the output redirection operator is written to the console. If you want a string of characters written, be certain to enclose them in double quotes as shown in this R program. That string hello word must always be placed between inverted commas or double quotes. This is an example of a C++ statement. Notice that the statement ends with a semicolon character. This character is used to mark the end of the statement, and in fact, it must be included at the end of statements in all your C++ programs. The COUT object belongs to the IOStream file, and the purpose of this object is to print or display the content between double quotes as it is on the screen. COUT is a C++ object which is provided by the C++ standard library. It is a library function that is used to print data on the user screen. Hello world is a string that will be displayed on user screen. A semicolon ends a statement. Return 0. The return statement causes the main function to finish, and return may be followed by the return code with a value of 0. A return code of 0 for the main function is generally interpreted as the program worked as expected without any errors during its execution. This is the most usual way to end a C++ console program. Return 0. This statement returns value 0 from the main DHA function, which indicates that the execution of main function is successful. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more amazing content.